Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Sports 101. This is episode number 9. And today we have guest Pahune right from South Africa, Lopes from Groundsmen. Lopes, if you can say hi.
How's it, everybody? Hope you guys are well, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, and the regular person, Shafat.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Shafat is not excited because clearly RCB is not on winning track.
Yeah,
Big
I was
trouble.
just searching for the scores.
Shafat, how are you feeling? First with good partnership from Padikal and Kohli, and you're still not
Yeah,
not a good runs on the board.
yeah, they should have tried to get a little more runs. In the end, they just fizzled out.
You know,
What
what was first wicket on? The first wicket was on 111,
Yeah.
and they ended up scoring how many? 156.
Ah, that's honestly, Shafad, I feel for you, man. I feel for
Yeah,
you.
man.
They're probably about 40 short, right? They should
Yeah,
have gotten 190 easy on that track.
Lopes, whom are you cheering for?
Uh Listen, I used to be an RCB fan. I used to be an RCB fan, but purely because of Dhoni, I have to be a CSK fan. I have to be. It's like the way he's an X factor player. He lit as an individual player. He turned me around. I mean, we if you look at that CSK batting lineup, if you're not, I mean, I'm a Man United fan, right? So winning's in my blood. Um, so you see that RCB lineup, and you're like, who beats them, right? How do they not score 200 every game? But with Dhoni, man, I actually don't even think if they scored 200, they would have beaten CSK today, if I'm honest.
Lopes, apart from this match, all of the 8 IPL teams, whom do you really cheer for, or is it just CSK?
Yeah, I know I'm a CSK fan. I'm all over that. I'm all over
Okay.
them.
Since how many seasons are you supporting CSK?
This is probably my third season now that I'm supporting them.
Okay, so
that's
probably when Stain left RCB, you stopped cheering for RCB, if I'm right.
Yeah, probably.
but still he has De Villiers, right?
Yeah, De Villiers is still there. De Villiers is there. He's a different player now. I mean, since he left the Proteas,
Yeah,
he's sort of playing T20 tournaments around the world. And I think you underestimate the playing for a national side, right? In that you play maybe sort of a few series around the world, maybe 3 or 4 these days. You don't always get that many. And being able to play again on an international level consistently. I mean, you saw the way he went out today. I mean, that was old De Villiers, maybe 3 years ago, puts that thing over the covers into the stands. So I don't know.
definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll just briefly brief you the score. CSK is on 90 runs, 2 wickets for 11 overs. Currently, they're scoring at 8.18 per over, and they need 67 in 54 balls. I think this is a cakewalk for CSK with 11 players who are batting for them.
Yeah.
Uh, so till that time, let us discuss about has okay. My first question is how has IPL influenced South African cricket? If even it has,
Massively.
yeah.
Massively. It's completely changed the landscape. So South African cricket, like probably like English cricket and maybe Australian cricket, was predominantly sort of a test focused kind of setup. Most players sort of wish they could play for South African Test. If you played ODI, that was good too, but ideally you'd want to get into that Test setup. Now I mean, you get kids now that are basically just practicing to play T20s, right? So the country's selection criteria has changed in that they almost look at specific players for T20 cricket, and then other players that sort of have a slower a lower strike rate, sort of, tick the
Yeah.
ball around, then they'll go the test route and maybe the ODI route. But it has definitely changed the game, man. You even see with guys making themselves available. South Africa right now has a cricket South Africa T20 tournament happening right now, and all our big players are playing at the IPL. So it's definitely changed the landscape of South African cricket, no doubt.
Right, rightly said.
I
Uh,
think the second season of IPL was in South Africa. Am I right?
Yeah. Ever since
That was
then,
a
I
crack.
think everybody caught the bug, man. In South Africa, cricket was sort of falling to the wayside because a lot of people felt it was boring, it was a bit long, and primarily we sort of a rugby and soccer playing nation. So cricket has always been sort of the third wheel in that relationship. So when IPL came through and guys got a taste of that T20 format, fantastic.
Some of the big South African names have played in IPL. Right since the IPL has begun, I'm a huge Mumbai Indian fan, and
Yeah.
we had the likes of Sean Pollock, JP Dumini, Harshal
Yeah.
Gibbs, Harshal Gibbs as well, and
Legend.
then our fielding coach in between, it was Jonty Rhodes.
Mm.
Some of the
Yeah.
big names have been associated with IPL from South Africa. Leading to this, my question will be: I haven't seen Pav du Plessis play that well in South Africa, but what he has done in IPL, the primary reason would be MS Dhoni. He has turned the tides
Yeah.
for Pav du Plessis, but has it in the case of other players as well?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's the paycheck or it's the fact that they're playing with sort of other international players, so they almost have to puff their chests up and really perform well in order to be in contention next year and that kind of thing. But definitely, I mean, for instance, Rabada's been struggling, right? He's a
Yeah.
good bowler, no doubt about it. But I think over the last sort of 6 months or so, he struggled playing for the Proteas. But then he comes to the IPL, and I mean, he hasn't done too badly over the last few games, you know. So it almost seems like, and honestly, we're grateful for it because we got a T20 World Cup coming up. So to get some of the boys getting back into form is fantastic for us. Quinton sort of keeps doing his own thing. Quinny just doesn't stop. He just keeps scoring runs, whether he's playing for South Africa, IPL, or whoever. So I think so. Guys like Morris and them, I think they've aged out of the South African contention. They're more focused around IPL and playing for their local franchise or provincial side. But I definitely think tournaments around the world, specifically the IPL, which is the catalyst, has pushed guys to almost try and preserve their energy or their, I don't know, to peak at the right time, right? They're trying to score most of their runs come IPL because it's such a massive boost to one, their balance sheet, but two, their recognition around the world around what caliber of player they are. Yeah.
Right. So, India majorly plays cricket. Our mostly focus is on cricket, and when we have IPL, it's a festival, and it reflects same on the social media as well. If you see ABD, I'll check right now how many followers does ABD have.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure most of them are from India.
ABD has 15 million followers. Okay, and ABD is widely known as Mr. 360, and I think probably 10 million of them would be Indians. His comment
Yeah.
section is all about Indians telling him, uh, and Kohli won't be leading the RCB side next season. And most likely, if ABD gets retained in the RCB squad, and he might be leading this one. So I think after Graham Smith and JP Dumini, I think ABD might be the third full-time South African captain for IPL franchise. What do you think about it?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, for him, I mean, because he doesn't play national, it's purely sort of an individual thing for him, right? So it really doesn't help South Africa as a cricket playing nation at all. But I also think it would be a little odd because he gave up the captaincy, right? Saying that I can't keep and bat up the order and captain at the same time. Fair enough. Here he doesn't keep, but I'm pretty sure he's got a lot less on his shoulders. So I think that's a good thing. I think it is a good. No, let me just retract a little bit and say it is a good advert for South African players, and I think South African cricket minds to say you can go to an IPL tournament and captain basically an international side, right? And also be able to. I mean, IPL does a fantastic job in bringing in young Indian talent, right? That is sort of the future of Indian cricket. So to be able to marshal those kind of players is definitely a good thing for sort of South African cricket. And for him himself, we love AB, man. AB he's a fantastic cricketer. As an individual talent, probably the one of the best we've ever had.
You know, I have seen. I've been watching cricket for a long time, and I eventually ABD was from other IPL franchise, and he never played for the Mumbai Indians. So whenever he was into other team, and if he bats well, I used to hate him. Why is he playing for that franchise that well? You know, he scored. I think he was the first overseas player for Delhi to score a century. If you know, am I right, Shafat? I think he was the first overseas player for Delhi Daredevils. He played for them in
Daredevil.
season 4 of 5th, and he scored a century. And bang on, he played all around the stadium. And then he's continuing that form since then. Once it was last over of Delstein, and he scored him around 24 or 25 runs in that last over. So ABD has changed a lot of batting style. If you see around your gully matches or your local tournaments, you see whatever a player learns from the coach, he'll still try to try pulling the bat somewhere else to try the ABD shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, no,
and
and you
Shafat,
see a lot of players in South Africa as well, essentially sort of trying to mimic AB, right? But probably a large part of why AB can do what he does is that he just has fantastic hands, right? So even if you bowl a very good ball and his feet don't move probably as well as they should, he's got such good hands that he can manipulate the ball anywhere he goes. And if you don't have hands like AB, you just end up looking very stupid.
I guess that's got to do with the timing also. Yes, timing when you was to speak.
okay,
Yeah.
I just brief the score again. CSK needs 41 in 40, and I don't think any miracle would save RCB from here.
We can't tell, Punjab lost that match. That was a very humble match.
Man, what a match that was. Anyways, Lob, so what do you think about the South African squad that has been selected for the T20 World Cup?
Uh, listen, I think they've done the best they can with the talent pool that's there. I think if the tournament was next year this time, they might have had um, a slightly different squad, if I'm honest. So the squad as it stands right now, they probably maybe a seamer short, considering the fact that I think it's going to be, where is it? Is it in the Caribbean, huh?
UAE.
In the UAE. Yeah, I think there might be a seamer short. but I think they've done the best they can, man. I think with this squad, they do have a chance. Yeah, I mean, you've got Kagiso, you've got Dwayne, you've got Heinrich, Lungi, who's probably a test bowler rather than ODI bowler. So he comes across a Kohli, I think he's going to fetch. I think a Vian Mulder isn't quite there. I think he's a good talent, but there are sort of one or two youngsters that could probably do the job. But if, in all honesty, I think it's just that Cricket South Africa has invested time in Vian, so they're going to give him an opportunity. When it comes to the batting lineup, I think it's a decent top order. In reality, you've got Temba, Aiden, Reza, and maybe Heinrich. And Russi, who are out and out batsmen, right? If we're honest about it, cricket is a batsman's game these days, right?
Yes.
You really get a pitch that is going to favor bowlers considerably where you're thinking, geez, these batsmen are in trouble. So I think if you don't bat long, you leaving yourself a little exposed if essentially if you don't have a proper batting all-rounder at 7. I think you're going to struggle a little bit. So, I mean, when I look at the other teams, I'm rooting for South Africa to win. Right? We've never won a World Cup. I'm rooting for South Africa to win. But I think we might be a little light on the experience side. So I think the guys will have a good run. I think they have an opportunity to learn a lot of lessons and get some experience under the belt. But when I look at the other sides, even this West Indian side, man, I think West Indies, you're like, okay, it's West Indies until you get to T20s, and all of a sudden they can chase anything down.
At any day, any West Indies player, just one player can change the whole game.
Yeah,
you need 3 to 4 overs to change a T20 game.
Exactly.
I mean, commentators say 1 over to change, but you need 3 to 4 overs, and you have changed the whole game.
Yeah.
Who's
they have all like
please.
West Indies is all like very dark horses. Once they fire, the next.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anybody in that side. I mean, they've brought Pollard back, which he wasn't really that favorable with the selectors. So him coming back is a massive boost for them. Obviously, Dwayne, Chris, some of the guys, Andre Russell. I mean, these guys are essentially mercenaries around the world, right? You hire them, you're like, you know what? I'm trying to win a World Cup. I'm gonna go find a donor to write a check for me, and I'm gonna get a Dwayne Bravo or an Andre Russell who's an X-Factor player. Now, if you've got 4 or 5 of those in your side, any team playing against West Indies need to watch out.
Yeah. Yes. So Lopes, whose selection or not being selected shocked you the most for South Africa?
I think Heinrich. So there's 2, right? So Heinrich Klaasen, I thought, listen, they've gone with him for a while, but I think he averages like 20 or something, right? Between 20 and 25. He's batting in the top order, and he's a backup wicketkeeper for Quinton. I thought that was I won't lie. I don't think it's a shocker, but I think on numbers alone, it's a bit of a lazy selection, if you ask me. And then there's Andile. I don't know if you guys know Andile Petlokwayo.
Not heard yet.
Yeah, so you'll see he's a traveling reserve, right? So if someone gets injured or whatever, then he'll fly up. So I thought he was also a tough selection. I think he's had about 35 games that he's played for South Africa. He's averaging 9, and he's supposed to be our sort of all-rounder coming in at 6 or 7, right? If you're averaging 9, I mean, essentially that's almost like a Jadeja sort of coming in for you guys, where or a Maxwell coming in for Australia, where you're thinking to yourself, you have to at least have a strike rate of like 140, 150, and also be averaging at least 30, 35 plus, right? So I think that's a bit of a weak link, and I also think that's a bit of a lazy selection. The other problem I think is that because the guys haven't played, so these seasons look a bit odd because the last sort of numbers the guys have from 2019. 2020, no one played anything, and then now we're back with T20 tournament. So it almost becomes, you almost give the selectors a bit of grace because you're thinking, okay, they have to pick based on stats from 18 months ago, and let the guys have a run. So yeah, those are the two shockers, that not shockers, but I think lazy selections that we picked, that I thought maybe we could have done better in finding an explosive player in the provincial setup. Yeah.
Right, right.
I think there is a lack of experience also in the squad.
Yeah.
As you,
Yeah.
Imran Tahir was experienced, but he was not selected also. Right?
Yeah, and Tahir. So they're saying, so the reason they gave for that was that they're trying to give talent, they're trying to give young players an opportunity to come through, right? So if you look at that South African squad, you've got Tabri Shamsi, who sort of picked himself. I think he's done well for South Africa in the T20 sides for the last while. And then you've got a Bjorn Fortuin, and I think we got one more. Yeah, we got Bjorn Fortuin and Tabri Shamsi essentially in there as the spinners. And then they're using sort of an Aiden Markram, is essentially our opening batsman as a backup spinner. But I think it might have been a little bit, if we're trying to win a World Cup, right? And here's maybe the question for you guys, is that if you're trying to win a World Cup, you go with the best 11 you've got right now, right? After the tournament, you guys don't win a World Cup, you reshuffle a little, you get a few youngsters in, you give them maybe 10 games, right? Maybe 10 games. I mean, you look at that Indian squad, if you don't score runs in like 3 or 4 games, you're out. You're out. No one's even looking at you, right? So we've got youngsters in that side that have played maybe 20, 25 games with very little to show for it. And they get picked in the side because the selectors invested in them and they said, these are the guys we picked and we wanted to give them an opportunity. So at this point in time, that squad, I mean, without an Imran, without a conversation with a Faf, there's really not much you can say, but we're just looking to give the squad experience, and then maybe in the next World Cup we'll go for it.
Okay, okay. Lopes, right now I'll give a brief 32 in 30 balls for CSK. Uh, anyways, so did you watch India versus Australia at Gaba?
I watched some of the games, not all of them.
Did you watch the highlights? How India turned up the tides? How was the Test series going on? How was who won the how many match? What are the squads sent by India to the tour?
No, I haven't. Wasn't it like a 2-1? India won that.
Yes. India won the
Yeah,
Test
India
series.
turned it
Yes,
around, eh?
yes,
But I
yes,
love it when Australia gets beaten. I'm telling you, I don't care who beats it. I think Bangladesh beat them recently, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bangladesh beaten.
Not in
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
series. I think it was 1 or 2
yes.
games. Yeah.
And it was India's B team. Okay, it was India's B team. Most of
Yeah,
the senior
yeah.
players were back. Yeah. And we had couple of injuries as well. So that was the major reason why senior players were not in the squad. And
Oh, okay.
you might have heard a player called Shardul Thakur recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he's a bowler who bats now. Still, people will be calling him an all-rounder. It's a bowler
Yeah.
who bats, and he's a reserve player for T20 World Cup. And what you said is rightly said. the squad should be selected on how they have recently performed or how are they going to be performed in the warm-up games or so. And that's how you'll turn up the squad for the T20 World Cup. I hope there are warm-up games before the T20 World Cup, and that's how they'll get a balanced 11. That's the biggest problem for Indian team right now. We have a chunk of so good players now, and you have to just put them in 11. You know, you have to mark all the boxes now. India has good all-rounders now. Let's call them all-rounders who are bowlers who can bat as well, but you can't play all of them at once. So if
did they pick Ashwin?
Yes, they did. Yes, Ashwin is in the squad. And you know, few of the media reported as it was just what it was a desert for Ashwin for not getting selected in the test. That's the reason Ashwin got selected in the T20. That was the reason. Anyways, India has a good. It's still a good squad. I hope they are good at their day on that respective time. You know, still Rohit and Kohli at the top. You know, we just want, as a fan, I want Kohli to open this time and not play at number 3. We have good options at number 3 as well this time. But still, he's captain. He'll be leading this side for the last time in this World Cup. What do you feel about? What do you feel about this? Loops. Hope Kohli is a big name in South
stepping
Africa.
down as captain.
Yeah.
I'm gutted, man. I love India with Kohli at sort of at the front, at the head of that team. I think it gives India a bit more fire, a bit more fight. We all know that Indian squad can bat, right? Every time India goes to England or Australia, the conversation is always around, are the Indian batsmen going to be able to perform away from home, right? That's always the case. But every time since you've had Kohli as the captain of that side, you've almost felt his presence push back at those comments, right? Just the mere fact that he's there, his attitude on the field, the way he is, the way he conducts himself, he takes control of the game, in that you don't feel like India's there sort of waiting to see how they play, where it's more around, okay, we know that India can bat, and they're gonna bat as well as any other side that tours to England or Australia. And that always used to irritate me. And I think that's why I like seeing Australia and England get beat, is that they like to act like India coming out to Australia or England is any different to a South Africa or a Sri Lanka, or or a West Indies coming out to play out there. It's difficult for everybody, but because they see India as sort of their equals, although they won't want to admit it, I think India is equal or probably even better as a cricketing nation. They always try and go hard at them. So I definitely think Kohli should captain, but I also think that India is very good at transitioning leadership and transitioning young players into an experienced side, right? So you look at for instance this T20 side right now. You got fantastic experience in Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Bumrah. You got the lot, Kohli, Sharma, all those guys. But then you've got like one or two youngsters that can come through, and they probably have an idea of who's going to lead the side after that. So it's always best, if you ask me, we want Kohli to stay, but it's always good to have sort of the previous captain remain in the side while you introduce a new one and sort of help him walk through. That's how Kohli got as good as he is, because he had Dhoni next to him for so long. And Dhoni was still fresh. He enjoyed playing. He continued to play until they felt like, okay, I think Virat is now ready to take the team to the next level. So listen, it's a bit heartbreaking for me, but I respect that for sure.
Right. I'll give the brief of the last few remaining overs. Chennai need 23 and 24. Shavad, what do you think?
Yeah, there's this. But I had to add one point. Ever since Dhoni had resigned, Kohli has that lack of spark in his captaincy that you might have noticed.
Mm,
With Rohit Sharma as a captain, he thinks a lot. But what
yeah,
Kohli does, he reacts. That sometimes loses him the game. That happens. And overseas games, that happens quite a more number of times actually, as
yeah,
compared to the domestic series.
yeah. No, I mean that's a fair comment. I also think there's a lot of pressure overseas, right? I mean, all the headlines are it's Kohli and someone else when you go when India plays overseas. So you can imagine there are a lot of there is quite a bit of pressure on Kohli to perform for one, but also to lead the side to a victory. Um, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I still think, personally, I think since he had a baby, he's gotten a bit soft.
Yeah,
There's just something about after he had a baby, he came back and he just seems a little softer. And that's just growth, I guess.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Lopes, why don't you tell us about the Groundsman and tell us the story behind the channel, please?
Yeah, man. So the Groundsman is essentially there to talk about up and coming young talent, right? South Africa has very good development structures, but as the players are sort of about to move into first class level, there's a bit of a black hole there where players that you would have seen in high school do well, score hundreds week after week. They get to our under 19 trials, and all of a sudden, like they just disappear. No one knows where they went. They joined some club, or they stop playing, or or they don't get selected. And a large part of that is because they, on numbers basis, on paper, they should have been selected for the under 19 squad. But then they don't get picked because they're not someone's favorite, or the head coach isn't friends with their academy coach or their school coach, and so that those kind of politics come into play. So what we did was we said, okay, let's put together a podcast that speaks purely about school cricketers, right? Put their numbers out there for everybody to see, so that come the end of the year, when we sit and say these are the top 10 batsmen, the top 20 batsmen that have scored the most runs this year, and you hardly see any of them at sort of in that under 19 squad, then the cricket fans and the cricket lovers in the country can start to ask questions from an informed position,
Right,
right? To
right.
say, no, no, no. Before you could say, okay, I actually don't know who could have taken the other guy's place because we don't know who's who. But if we now begin to track who's the top wicket taker, who's the top spinner, who's taken the most stumpings as a keeper, who scored the most runs as a keeper, who are the top batsmen in the country at an under 18, under 19 level, everybody can look around and go, okay, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. Why are they not in the under 19 squad? And then maybe we can win a World Cup, right? We
Yeah.
don't know how many players we've lost along the way. I mean, we lost the Kevin Peterson to England. We've lost Jonathan Trott. We've lost so many players to other nations purely because they felt like they lost their opportunity to play for South Africa at an under 19 level, and they thought, let me just go to England or Australia and play there.
Right, right. Well, Lopes, it happens everywhere in every sport, but that's a great initiative for you. You are covering from the root of the cricket. That's great.
Yeah.
And I think we'll sum up the episode. Chennai still needs 12-18. I think it's 99.5. They have won the match now.
I think it's done and dusted.
Yeah,
So,
it's done.
Shabat, anything at the last? What should RCB do?
They should change the team and their slogan. Every time they sing, "This year cup is ours, cup is ours," they Don't get any cup.
Lobes, can you do one last thing for the RCB fans? Just say, yeah. What is it, Shafat? Please.
E Sala Cup. E
Oh
Sala.
no, I lost you there. Can you give it to me again?
E, the letter E, Sala,
Salah,
Cup,
Kapit,
Namde.
Namden.
So it's like
E
Namde.
Sala Cup Namde.
Oh, E Salah Cup Namden.
Yes.
This means they are going to win this year, but that doesn't happen every year.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long shot this year, James.
Okay,
Too
Lobes,
much of.
who do you think will win this year's IPL?
Oh, Mumbai looks dangerous, man. Mumbai looks dangerous. CSK look dangerous. I have to go.
CSK.
I have to go expect the Dhoni, man. I have to go expect the Dhoni. He tips the
Oh.
scales.
CSK
Delhi,
fan
what
is
about
busy
Delhi?
tonight. Dark House, West Indies, Delhi.
What?
The
What ab-
player at their day is the can change the game. Still, Rahane and Steven Smith haven't featured in the lineup yet. Big place in the squad, bench. Anyways, that's the episode, guys. If you want to see Pravjot shirtless in the next one on Barcelona's failure, tune up to the next episode. Okay. Thank you, Lobes, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Shafat. And
Thank you.
Welcome, man.
please share this video, and Lobes will be joining us with us again for the World Cup. Yes, Lobes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yes.
I'll be here.
Yes. Okay, all the best, Lobes, for your channel.
Best wishes, man.
Yes.
You too,
Best
guys, man.
wishes.
All the best. All the success in the world.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.